Social Development Minister Carmel Sepuloni is refusing to activate a special clause in the Social Security Act that would mean migrants out of work due to COVID-19 could get emergency benefits they don't usually qualify for because of their immigration status. There's increasing pressure for the minister to fire up the epidemic provision under Section 64 of the Social Security Act. One out-of-work migrant approached a South Auckland budgeting service for adult nappies because he was sleeping in his car after losing his job and home due to COVID-19. He's not eligible for a benefit. Checkpoint's also spoken to a migrant worker from Fiji who was between jobs when lockdown happened and is now more than a month in rent arrears and relying on food parcels to feed his family. Again, he's not eligible for a benefit. I spoke to Minister Carmel Sepuloni earlier, and before we got into the issue of Section 64, I asked her what kind of jobs were among the 60 ads listed on MSD's new Keep New Zealand Working website.
There were a range of jobs when I checked yesterday in the horticulture industry, in primary industries. There were healthcare positions. I saw some in the trades as well. And so we're hoping to grow that, Lisa, as businesses resume where they can. Then we're hoping to be able to add more employment vacancies there and then work with our clients to be able to match them up with employment opportunities.
So there's a big gap between the number of jobs that are available and the number of people who want and are ready to work. How are you going to find those extra jobs? What is the plan?
Well, I have to say, Lisa, that I'm not in this alone, that there are a number of other ministries and agencies that are also working in this space. The government has talked a lot about infrastructure projects and what might be available there. And I won't speak to other people's portfolios, but our agencies are working together. It will be about providing opportunities for people to work, but also there has to be that job creation that goes alongside that, as well as the upskilling and training. So it's not just the Ministry of Social Development. There's MB, there's PGF, there's the Ministry of Education, and there's others. And so we will continue to work together.
How many people are you seeing going on to the benefit for the first time ever?
I don't have that actual number in front of me, but I do know that a large proportion of those who have come on benefit have not been on before. In the last week, so we get our new update tomorrow for our weekly updates, but last week there was about 7,500 people that came onto benefit, most of them job seekers. The week before it was about 7,000 and the week before it was about 10,500. But as I said, Lisa, if we look internationally, we're not alone in this. I think Australia had 800,000 job losses in 3 weeks, and so this is part of the context that we're in at the moment.
If I can just go back to your Keep New Zealand Working website, how many jobs are you aiming to get onto that? What's the target?
As many as possible. So
obviously you want as many as possible, but you must be working towards a target, a goal.
As many as possible, Lisa. I think the difference between our online platform and others is employers don't have to pay to register with us. Of course, it's a free service from us, and our absolute intention is to provide those industries with the workers that they need, as well as provide New Zealanders with the jobs that they need. And we're not, for the first time, just talking about people that come on to benefit or who are on benefit. We're also talking about those that might just get the news that they've lost their job and they want a quick redeployment option and they want a tool that they can go to try and look for work. And so MSD is providing support in that space.
I want to talk to you about migrant workers in particular and people who don't qualify for benefit support. There is a clause in the Social Security Act, Section 64, which you will be acutely aware of, which the legislation says you can activate, which would allow them to get benefits. Are you going to do that?
Lisa, the support for those that are here on work permits is the biggest concern. And so with respect to the CDEM efforts, so they have got the funding and they have got the government support to ensure that they are able to provide essential support to those that need it in New Zealand. And that doesn't just have to be permanent residents and New Zealand citizens.
So they can get a food parcel from Civil Defence. I'm asking about whether you are looking to activate that clause to give them some surety around income, a basic income. You have that power. Are you going to exercise it?
If it was only a food grant, I'd be concerned, but it's not just a food grant that they can get through CDM's efforts, Lisa. They can get support for accommodation if they've lost their job and are experiencing hardship, and support with a range of other things. In fact, CDM has been working with, for instance, the Queenstown CDM effort and council down there to do outbound calls to those that are there on work permits who have lost jobs, to work with them on a case-by-case basis to make sure that they have their essentials covered off.
So are you ruling out activating this epidemic section in the Social Security Act? Are you saying you're not going to do it? It's off the table?
I'm saying that we've put in place a measure where they can get the support that they need, and that is the most important thing here, Lisa. I also need to say that with respect to that section, it's not a matter for me as an individual to make a decision about that, but my biggest concern is for the welfare of these people, and after discussions across government with CDM, I feel assured that CDM is well placed to provide them with that broad-ranging support.
Are you going to take it to Cabinet then? If you can't make that decision on your own, are you going to float it with Cabinet?
I feel very comfortable with the fact that CDM is well placed to provide that broad-ranging support for those that are in New Zealand experiencing hardship and are not permanent residents or New Zealand citizens.
Have you talked to the Finance Minister about this, or have you just ruled it out?
Lisa, the main thing is that they're getting the support that they need while they're in New Zealand.
Okay, Minister, just on that
they're
subject.
in hardship, and they are getting it through CDM.
People working with these migrant workers say that they're not getting the support they need. There's an example that's come to light today, a migrant worker who lost his job and his accommodation and is not able to get a benefit because he doesn't qualify. He was at a budget service in South Auckland asking for adult nappies because he's living in his car and is too scared to get out of the vehicle in the night and look for a public toilet. Is that acceptable?
That's not acceptable, Lisa, and I would say with those cases when they come up, if you're made aware of them or others are made aware of them, then they need to be referred through to the local CDM efforts or even to MSD so we can put them in touch with CDM so that they can get the support that they need.
Well, what can you do for a worker like that who's lost their job, a migrant worker?
Well, as you said, food, but also emergency accommodation. They can be looked after whilst they're in this country, even if they aren't a permanent resident or New Zealand citizen. It is through the CDM efforts and funding that we as a government that have put in place that they can get the support that they need.
And another family that we have spoken to, their social worker, been here for 6 years from Fiji, have a work permit, are out of work and are living each day hand to mouth, ringing around emergency services, including civil defence and food banks, to get food. They ran out of cooking gas yesterday. So again,
and if they're not getting the support that they need, Lisa, then those social services need to be getting in touch with CDM, escalating it if they need to, including to my own office, and we will put them in touch with the support that they need.
Because the thing is, various unions, social workers, others working with these people say that you have the mandate too. You have the mandate under that clause in the Social Security Act, and you're just choosing not to use it.
I think the main thing here is that we provide the support and we've got a measure in place through CDM, and we need to make sure that that's communicated widely. I think a lot of people perhaps thought that that section was the only way in which we could provide non-New Zealand residents and citizens with the level of support that they would need if they were experiencing hardship, but that's simply not the case. And as I said, it is in place. We need to make sure that that is communicated widely so that any families or individuals that are experiencing hardship are getting the support that they need.
And that's the Social Development Minister Carmel Sepuloni. She also says the government has provided $30 million for welfare and food support through local authorities and the Civil Defence Emergency Management Group, and that support is to include those on working visas who are experiencing hardship.